Hi, I'm Willms, and I'm here today to talk about personal values and how they impact the way we behave, the way we make decisions, how we interact with other people, and I believe the most important, happiness. So the question here is, have our personal values anything to do with how happy or unhappy we feel? I remember the very first time I learned about personal values. It was in Chicago many years ago, during the Leadership Challenge workshop. And back then I learned how having a clear set of values impact commitment at work. Since then, I've been fascinated with personal values. And I've been researching, I've been studying everything I talk about, even with the people that I work, in my workshops, in my seminars, with my coaches. It always relates to personal values. By now I know that personal values, they have nothing to do with me being good or bad, right or wrong, having a relation or not. Personal values, they are our lenses, they are our filters, they are how we see the world. A very good example right now, while you're watching me, you are looking at my hair, my watch, the way I sit, you are paying attention at my accent, for example, and your values are deciding whether you're going to listen to me or not, if what I have to tell you is good or not for you. Another very good example that I love to give to people is that when we meet somebody on the street, even before we say hi to that person, our values are scanning that person, they are judging that person, and they are deciding on which category they will file that person. And all that is happening in the back of our minds. So when I say that every decision we make is based on our values, it's reality. My idea of sharing and talking about personal values is to help people to understand what their values are and how they make decisions so they can make better decisions. It was about in the beginning of last year, 2014, I decided that I wanted to know on my own how values impact happiness. So what I did, I set up a lab, and I called that lab Mudança Positiva, which in English means positive change. And I made that most of those labs here in my office in Brazil. And I invited all sorts of people. We had lawyers, doctors, teenagers, elderly. We had married people, couples, single. We had divorced or even soon to be divorced. I learned that later on. And they were stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads. I remember some psychologists, some life coaches. They were regular people like you and me. And they all came with an open heart. They were very willing to share what they knew, and they were very willing to learn more about personal values. Since then, June 2014 until today, June 2015, we have had 24 labs with about 400 people. And I'm here to share with you all the things that I learned in those labs. And the first thing that I learned is that 8 out of 10 couples, they don't recognize on each other the person they married. So I heard so many husbands telling me, Danny, I look at that woman and I don't know what happened to the beautiful, sweet girl that I found, that I fell in love with. On the other hand, when I talked to the wives, 80% of them said, I don't know, who is that man? Who is the nice guy who would open the door for me, who would send me flowers? I don't know what happened. I want my husband back. Another thing that I learned is that through the years, their values were changing and they didn't notice what was going on. Why? Because we are not, especially here in Brazil, educated to learn about values and pay attention to people's values. Another thing that I learned is that 70% of people who came to my labs didn't have a clear set of values. Having that said, when you don't have a clear set of values, you have a huge problem making decisions. As a consequence, if you don't make very good decisions, hardly ever you're going to be happy with your life. Another point that I learned is that 100% of those people never sat down to learn about their values and how they impact their behaviors. Another thing that I learned is their most key values. Learning those and learning their values, I was able to learn their expectations. And I also learned something very, very interesting that I was very happy. That yes, personal values have everything to do with how happy or unhappy we feel. And maybe the most important thing is that we were able to break a paradigm. I call it the paradigm of change. I remember for so many years, people would always say that, oh, people don't change because they are afraid of the unknown. People don't change because they are afraid of change itself. And I learned that that's not the case anymore. I learned that nowadays we live in a world that most of people, at least 100% of those people that I sat down and talked to, they all wanted to change. They were all excited for something new. They all wanted to be happier. The problem is they just don't know where to start. And that's exactly what I want to show you in my next video. How I help all those people to find direction. And how people nowadays can find direction. Where should we all start our change, our positive change? So I hope you stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to explain how I help those people to start their positive change and find ways to live a happier life. Because I believe we all deserve to have a better life. We all deserve to be happier. And that's my mission in life, to help people to be happier. Thank you so much for watching me.